Hey, what's going on? This video is all about strategic growth and planning for strategic growth. So I'm going to take you through my SmartPlan Framework, which is a 5-step framework to help you plan strategically. So the goal here is to show you the exact process that I use to strategically plan for the growth of my business, and I'll take you through the step-by-step planning process for that. But ultimately, the whole point of this video is to help you get clear on what you need to do to hit your goals in your business, whether it's this quarter, next quarter, this year, whatever that time frame is. We're going to break it down into actionable steps that you can actually go away with after this video, and you kind of follow along really as I'm going through it and know by the end exactly what needs to happen so you can actually achieve the growth that you want within your business. So let's dive in. I'll take you through it and you can follow along as I go through. So before we dive into the actual process, I wanted to cover why planning is important. Now, I'm not going to sit here in front of you and be like, it's really important to plan because and whatever. Because to be honest, if you're anything like me, you enjoy and almost kind of default to just working off the cuff, right? That's what I'm like as an individual, and it's what I always default to. But I'm 5 years into this business now, and what I've learned is that's not the best way to operate. Just going off the cuff, just doing things as you please and when you feel like it is not the fastest way to grow the business. I've had to learn that the hard way. So planning is important, right? I was never the teacher's pet. I was never the person at the front of the class. I was never the person to really follow the rules, right, growing up. And one of the things that people used to say to me is like, you should always have a plan, and you should always do this, and you should always do this. And I kind of went the opposite way. Like anything structured, anything planned, I really rebelled against it. But when it comes to business, it is so important, and we have to treat our business like a business. So planning does give you clarity. It gives you clarity on what you need to do. It gives you clarity on the things that need to happen to get you to wherever it is you want to go, right? Otherwise, we're kind of on this boat going down a stream, not really knowing where we're going, and just going wherever the current takes us, right? It also gives us organization and structure, which it is important. Organization and structure, I say, the biggest problems in a business come from a lack of organization, right? Whether you have a sales problem, whether you have client problems, operational problems, whatever it is, you can almost bet that those problems come from a lack of organization, because there's no structure, there's no process, there's nothing to create that streamlined, whatever it is, whether it's sales, lead gen, marketing, clients, whatever it is, there is a lack of organization. But then with organization, with structure, with clarity comes confidence. Do you know what I mean? It gives you confidence knowing what needs to get done, what needs to be done, when it needs to be done. Having that organization will give you a ton of confidence that you know what that road ahead looks like. You know what needs to get done. And when you feel like you know what needs to get done, you actually have more energy and more enthusiasm to go and do it. Whereas what's been true for me is when you don't really know what that road ahead looks like, you're uncertain, you're unclear, it can almost create a lack of confidence, which then goes against you. And then when you have all of those things, clarity, organization, structure, confidence, you get results. Okay, so planning is important, and that's coming from me, right? That is coming from me. So planning is important. So I'm going to take you through that smart planning process, okay? And it's not long-winded. It isn't, I'm going to cut through all the bullshit. I'm only going to focus on what matters, and I'm going to get straight to the point, right? So let's just dive in. So step one within this process is goals, obviously. Right, you have to start with goals. You have to know what your goals are. What are you trying to achieve, and what is the result that you want? Without understanding what the goals are, without the thing that is, whatever it is you're trying to achieve, you're never going to really know what you need to do next. Without understanding what the goals are, you can never create a pathway, you can never create a journey to get into the place that you want to get to, because you don't actually know where you want to get to, right? It's like getting in a car and just driving without actually having a destination. So those goals create the destination for us. We have to set those goals first. And obviously it goes without saying, your goals have to have some sort of timeline, of deadline. Okay, so when is it you want to achieve this goal by? Is it this quarter, this year, this month? Having that end date is super important. Step two then is targets. So once you have those goals, once you know what the goals are, what we can do with that goal is break it down into targets. So let's just say, for example, the goal for you is, let's say 10k a month. Right, you want to hit 10k a month within your business. That is the goal. Now, what we do then is we look at that overall goal. Okay, we want 10k a month coming into the business. So what do we need to do? What are the targets we need to hit in order to achieve that 10k a month goal? And the reality is the targets are going to be something like a number of leads. Okay, it's going to be something like number of sales. It's going to be something like the sales process, so maybe optimizing the sales process. It might be also something like nurture and follow-ups. Okay, like depending on what your business is and depending on currently where you are, your targets are going to differ, right? Because some people are going to be at 2k a month wanting to get to 10. Some people are going to be at 5k a month wanting to get to 10. So depending on where you are, the targets are going to differ. But for example, if you're trying to hit 10k a month, it could be that you need X amount of leads coming in. It could be then from those leads, you make X amount of sales every single month. It could even be that you might need to restructure your offers. That might be a target, right? So maybe number of offers, types of offers, whatever that might be, you might need to restructure, change, adapt so that maybe you're focusing on recurring revenue, offers that build that recurring revenue. But the whole point of step 2 is understanding what those targets are. By breaking your goals down into the individual targets, you should then have a list of things that is required to achieve the overall goal. And it should essentially be, if we do all these things, then we'll achieve that 10k a month goal. So step 3 then is projects. So once we have the targets and we've listed all the targets that we have to hit in order to achieve the goal, we're then going to turn all of those targets into a project. And then we're going to break that project down into specific tasks so we know what needs to happen to achieve the project goal. So earlier we looked at 10k months, then we looked at specific things that needed to happen to achieve that. So let's just say we focus then on the target of number of leads. Let's just say you need 150 leads over a period of time. That would then be one of the targets. So we need to hit 150 leads over a period of time. And then what we're going to do, we're going to turn this target into a project. So in order to achieve 150 leads or to generate 150 leads, what do you need to do? It might be to build an ad campaign. It might be to create some form of content. It might be to go to certain events, to put yourself in specific places. It might be a certain amount of marketing materials. It might be that you need new lead magnets. So the goal here then is to understand in this leads project, because we're taking each target and turning those targets into a project, what needs to happen inside of that project to hit the target of 150 leads. So once you've turned those targets into projects and you've gotten clear on what needs to happen inside of each project, you can then go to step 4 and create the timelines. Okay, because you have your overall goal, which is hit 10k a month, and you should have then a deadline or a date on when you want to achieve that. Then you've taken that 10k goal and you've broken that 10k goal down into targets, and you've identified what needs to happen to achieve the 10k goal. You've then taken each of those individual targets and you've created a project, because you have to work on those targets, right? So if it's to generate 150 leads, you need to know what needs to happen inside of your business to generate those leads. And you've turned each of those targets into a project. But the reality is, you can't do all of that at the same time. You can't do everything at once. So you have to create timelines and deadlines and understand, okay, when am I going to work on this section? When am I going to work on this section? And what it should do is create a timeline from where you are now all the way through to achieving that goal. So for each of those projects, you want some sort of timeline or deadline. So like, when does this part have to be achieved by? Okay, when does it have to be completed in order to achieve the target or the goal? So we want to set defined dates. So if your 10k goal is to achieve that within the next 6 months, the reality is you probably want to nail that lead gen within the next couple of weeks, right? That's probably going to be the first thing to focus on. Or depending on where you are, it might be your offers, for example, but you're going to create that timeline of what needs to happen. And then step 5, which is the last one, it's schedule tasks. Right, so you have a goal, you have targets to achieve that goal, you then have projects to achieve those targets, and you've created timelines for those projects. The last thing to do is schedule those tasks into your diary so you can actually do the work. Okay, so you have to schedule each task inside of that project into your calendar, onto your to-do list, so you can actually get the work done. So set end dates and plan time to actually execute this stuff. Now I'm going to actually just give you a quick overview of how I'm doing this, okay? So I actually use a software called ClickUp. Okay, so I use a software called ClickUp to plan my projects, plan my tasks, manage them, and this is just an idea of what this might look like inside of your business. Okay, so as you can see here on the left hand side, we've got all these different spaces, and here is SGC projects. So these are the things that are going on at the moment. And if I hide that, you can see we've got build organic marketing SOP. So I'm in the process of improving my marketing SOP, my marketing process. Okay, optimizing that. I'm also in the process of improving lead gen and conversion. Okay, so working on that, on improving the numbers. There's a project going on for optimizing onboarding and upsells, affiliate sales, improving client experience, and also tracking of KPIs and metrics. So they're the projects I've got going on at the moment. But if I open up this build organic marketing SOP, for example, as you can see, I've got this work to do today. So research marketing processes, map out a practical and repeatable process, create marketing SOP in docs, weekly content calendar, AI prompts, and then test the process. And then I've got start dates, due dates, estimated times. This is an urgent thing because I actually want to really improve my marketing SOP right now. But as you can see, it gives me a clear and defined process to follow, and I know when things need to get done so that I'm actually doing the work. And all of my projects look the same, which means I can open up my laptop on any day. I know exactly what needs to get done so that I'm actually pushing my business forward. But I'm going to wrap this one up because I just want to take you through that SmartPlan blueprint and show you exactly how I'm strategically planning for the growth in my business. So I hope this one helped, and I'll see you in the next video.